Presidents of the United States were equally famed for their contributions to U.S. history. Even before the U.S. was created, George Washington had led battles of the American Revolution. John Adams helped convince the Continental Congress to take action and help create the Treaty of Paris. Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence and set the building blocks for the abolishment of slavery. However, not many people actually know what each president did during their presidency. Even worse, people are not aware of how important each president was. That's why we are asking, which of the three presidents contributed most to their country? George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, or John Adams? At the very bottom, we have John Adams. The second president of the United States. He had to fit in the standards that George Washington set for president. John Adams, although not that popular, was very qualified to be president, being a part of the Constitution and helping with the Treaty of Paris, and was an active patriot during the Revolutionary War. However, unlike George Washington's careful attempts of avoiding conflict, John Adams practically caused conflict. In 1797, Adams sent representatives to negotiate with France, which immediately shot down with the XYZ affair, where the French foreign minister, Talleyrand, told them that they could talk after they bribed them with a combined $12,025,000. This almost led to war until the two countries agreed to a peace treaty that same year. This cost Adams his reputation with the Federalists, and soon designed two members of his cabinet. That same year, however, Adams agreed to a career-ending act, the signing of the Alien and Sedition Acts in 1798. They were supposedly to, quotation mark, protect the United States, but were clearly just an attempt at grabbing power. The Sedition Act, for instance, forbade the public criticism of government. This violated the First Amendment, which the opposing Democratic Republicans instantly claimed with the Kentucky and Virginia resolutions. He created a few last-minute judge appointments before stepping down. Now, John Adams was not a complete failure. He did make some good changes, successfully preventing war with France and re-establishing the Marine Corps. He did make many failures, though, with the XYZ affair, the signing of the Alien Sedition Acts. The impact on U.S. history was extremely small, although Adams created a mansion in Washington, D.C. that would become the White House. Second is George Washington, famed commander-in-chief of the American Revolution. He was loved by the people, receiving a unanimous electoral vote in the first election. He was a general, so he had experience with leading large amounts of people. However, he did not exactly know how to govern and reluctantly took the role. Washington's presidency was shockingly neutral. He rarely spoke out for himself and only talked to agree with people's points of view. However, he did begin the practice of creating a presidential cabinet to help him govern. In this cabinet, he had Alexander Hamilton leading the Treasury, Thomas Jefferson leading the state, Henry Knox leading war, and Edward Jennings Randolph as Attorney General. With this cabinet, Washington's supporters started to wonder if he had joined the Federalist political party. He agreed to Hamilton's idea of a national bank, and also declared neutrality in 1793, while France and England battled each other. His decision to not help in the war broke the alliance with France, and Jefferson soon resigned from the cabinet. Washington had a large role to play when it came to foreign affairs as well. He also agreed to the trade treaty, which resolved matters not discussed in the Treaty of Paris. Britain agreed to pay for the ships they destroyed and left forts, while America agreed to pay off their debts. Also resolved matters from Spain with the Pigny Treaty, where Spain let Americans export through New Orleans to resolve the border disputes.
3, 2, 1.
He also dealt with more domestic threats. Native Americans, led by Little Turtle, were attacking the Northwest Territory. So, Washington sent General Anthony Wayne over to deal with the issue, which he did successfully. The U.S. and natives then signed the Treaty of Greenville, where natives gave the United States most of the land in the Northwest Territory. The United States agreed to give the Native Americans $20,000 in goods and promised to acknowledge the land the natives had left, as long as they agreed not to attack the Americans. That would be a problem. Then came the Whiskey Rebellion of 1794, where farmers revolted against the tax on distilled spirits by tarring and feathering tax collectors, and refusing to pay the tax. Washington soon sent an army to deal with the issue, and the entire rebellion ended without a fight. He left presidency, warning to take a side in politics, and foreign or domestic, in his farewell address in 1796. Washington's career was not as impactful on U.S. history compared to other presidents. He made lots of changes that helped the U.S. survive. However, one major accomplishment was forming the U.S. National Bank, which saved the U.S. economy. He also resolved many foreign matters and took down 2 domestic threats, Little Turtle's tax and the Whiskey Rebellion, which nearly burst into civil war. However, he did stir controversy. His declaration of neutrality made some congressmen angry, believing that he had gone beyond his authority, declaring neutrality without Congress's approval. He also never replied to mail and stayed distant from others. Washington's agreement to the Jay Treaty caused revolts. However, his reputation stayed intact and stood long enough for his decisions to make a cabinet and serve 2 terms to become a tradition and even a law. Washington, although may not have made significant changes, he made the ideal image of a president as what they should be. Finally, at the top, we have Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson was a hotly debated, very controversial candidate during the election of 1800. The opposing political party, the Federalists, claimed that Jefferson was a pro-French radical who would cause chaos and bloodshed like that of the French Revolution. Despite this, the Democratic Republicans won, and the 2 candidates, Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr, went head-to-head in the election, with Jefferson winning by a single vote lead. Jefferson had a lot of experience as a cabinet member and as vice president. He also had quite the reputation of being the main author of the Declaration of Independence and a representative of the United States during the Treaty of Paris. Jefferson was less formal than his predecessors. However, he immediately set off making changes. He was allowed a Congress to expire the Alien and Sedition Acts, lowered the military funding, and decreased the size of the Navy, and removed domestic taxes, including the tax which caused the Whiskey Rebellion. Jefferson also participated in the Louisiana Purchase, buying the Louisiana territories from France, which Spain gave to France via secret treaty in 1803. This made trade easier and doubled the country's size. Later, he asked Meriwether Lewis and William Clark to gather information about the Louisiana Territory, which led to the famous Lewis and Clark expedition. This is quite the list of successes, but no president is without a few flaws. Jefferson made 2 major mistakes, both of which crumbled his attempts at neutrality during the War of 1812. The Embargo Act of 1807, which closed all American ports to trade in a failed attempt to stop the English and French from warring, and the Barbary Wars, lasting from 1801 to 1815. The Embargo Acts failed to stop English and French from fighting because the American economy was not big enough to cause major damage to the worldwide economy. In the Barbary Wars, the Barbary pirates were seizing U.S. merchant ships and demanding for tributes. Jefferson refused, and the two warred with each other until 1815. Jefferson's main controversies only happened during the election, where two parties were at each other's throats. However, on occasion, Jefferson had to contradict himself to what he needed. No matter what the rankings say, these three presidents were beneficial to the growth and success of the United States. George Washington legitimized the United States presidency and set ideas that remain today, such as the presidential veto and the two-term limit, which later became a law. He rejected the idea of monarchy in favor of a democratic republic. He set up the tradition of the president's cabinet, stating that no president can know all. John Adams, during his presidency, managed to prevent war with France, which helped the U.S. economy grow at a time where it was very bad. Lastly, Thomas Jefferson's different approach on presidency made him a unique president for the time. He made the Louisiana Purchase, which helped the U.S. expand territory. He also fixed up the economy by reducing military spending and getting rid of taxes. So we must do credit to them and remember the accomplishments and failures of each president, to remember and to learn. Thanks for watching.
Shut down. Player 3